Hello everyone, welcome to this video. In today's video, I'm going to share with you guys what I have stumbled across is the secret, the way to get other people to like you and to love you, and really more importantly, how to have deeper, more meaningful connections with other people. Now, before I get into this story and the key takeaways, which I'm going to share with you guys at the end of this video, I want to make an announcement that I'm starting a community membership where I'm going to curate topics around self-love, how to develop and choose beautiful thoughts, things around manifestation, and topics around spirituality. I want this to be a meeting grounds where we can come together as a community and we can talk about these topics. I know for me personally, after I sort of went through this spiritual awakening back in college, it was very difficult for me to talk to people about these topics, even close friends, even close family members, for the reason that they just simply hadn't had the similar experience that I had. So I always felt like it was, this was something that I had to keep to myself, and I wasn't able to talk to other people about it. So what I want to do is create a community where we can come together and we can just openly talk about these topics, and we can share what we've learned, and we can sort of increase our level of consciousness and improve our lives, make a beautiful mind. That's what we're here to do. So fill out the form in the description if you'd be interested in a community membership. If I get enough people to sign up, then I will create the membership. I'll send an email out to you, and we'll build this community together. It's going to be a collaborative process. Okay, now without further ado, I'll get into the secret, what I've stumbled across as the way to get other people to love you. When I was a kid, I remember all I wanted to do is just play and have fun. That was it. Like, I would wake up in the morning with the sole intention of, today I'm going to play. I remember going to school, all I wanted to do was, I was waiting for recess and I was waiting for lunch so I could go out to the playground and I could play basketball with my friends, or I could play soccer with my friends. I could run around and we could play tag. Like, that's what I looked forward to most in the school day. That's pretty much what my childhood was. I remember the summer times, I'd have my neighbors come over here. We'd play board games like Monopoly. This was like every day. We'd play board games like Monopoly. Then we'd go outside to the backyard. We'd shoot some hoops and play basketball. Then we'd watch a movie. Then we'd go over to my neighbor's house. He had a swimming pool, and we'd go swim. And that was pretty much our lives. Like, it was so much fun. We'd run around the neighborhood. We use our imaginations. We'd pretend like we're cowboys against the Native Americans, or we'd pretend that we're Vikings or something like that. And we just run around the neighborhood and kind of just pretend like we're ninjas or something. It was always something different. We're always just using our imagination. We're just playing. That was really sort of the vibe for, I would even say, like, up to like middle school. Like, through most of middle school, I was pretty much in this like state of like, I'm just here to play. I had a lot of friends. We would play. This was like just basically how it worked. It was just like, life is all about play. And life, I always thought like, this is how life's going to be, right? It's just, we're here to play, we're here to have fun, and we're here to collaborate and play together. It's a lot. What I learned is, it's a lot funner to, it's cool to play by yourself, but it's a lot funner to play with other people. That all changed when I got into high school. When I got into high school, it was like completely different vibe change. I remember the first week they took us to the college affairs building or whatever. They basically told us, look, from here on out, there's only 3 things that really matter for you guys. Number 1, getting a high GPA. Number 2, getting a high SAT or ACT score. Number 3, appearing as a well-rounded individual in your community. That means play sports, get involved with clubs on campus, rack up your community service hours. This was all done in order to impress college admission counselors. So that was it. That was the mission for high school. Basically, to put it in a nutshell, the competitive mindset of the adult world was introduced to me when I was 14 years old in high school. That's when it was a complete vibe shift, because I remember joining the basketball program, and I loved to play basketball before this. When I joined the basketball program, the coaching program, it was always like, all of you guys in this program are playing against each other. That was the vibe. It wasn't said, like, it wasn't spoken, but there was always the threat from the coaches that if you're not performing and if you're not playing at a high level, we're going to cut your ass. That was the general vibe of the basketball program. It was awful. I did not have fun in the basketball program in high school. It was because it was just competitive. It was just this weird competitive vibe. It was not about collaboration. It was not about playing. It was not about being our best selves. It was just about, if you're not performing, we're going to cut your ass. As I progressed in high school, this comparison, it starts to become this game of like, who's getting better grades, who's going to go to the best college. It's this competition against other high school students. I really started to adopt this competitive mindset. But one of the mantras that I started to adopt, that I wasn't even aware that I had adopted this. This was all happening unconsciously. But it was this mantra, and the mantra was, I am not good enough. That was the general mantra that I repeated to myself thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times to myself in high school. When you continually say to yourself, you're not good enough, and of course you say it in different ways, right? You criticize yourself in different ways. It's not like I'm just saying I'm not good enough. It was just different ways of criticizing myself. When all you're doing in life is criticizing yourself, you take on this very heavy energy. What that leads to, when you take on a heavy energy and you feel like you're not good enough, you remove yourself from connecting with other people, because you don't want other people to expose you for not being good enough. So that's exactly what happened to me in high school. I remember I quit my basketball team after my sophomore year of high school. I took on a bunch of AP classes. All I did was just go home and study. I did not have a social life outside of school. I pretty much didn't have any friends. I had like 2 friends who I'd hang out with outside of school, and that was pretty much it. We'd meet up very intermittently. Like, we didn't meet up often. By the time I got to my senior year of high school, I was so over high school. I was so ready to get out of there because I was miserable. I didn't talk to girls. I didn't have any friends. I was just completely miserable. And again, it was really just me saying this mantra to myself that I'm not good enough. I didn't go to my winter formal. I didn't go to my prom. I was just like, I'm over this. I want to get out of here. All I wanted to do was to go to college so that I could start fresh. I could have a fresh slate. So I finally graduate from high school. I go to college. I won the sort of competition, right? I got into college. I got into a university. And I suffered so miserably for it, playing this stupid competitive game that the adult world sort of put on me. But I made it to my university, and I was like, okay, this is my chance. I have a fresh slate. No one knows me here. My goal in college is just to have everybody love me. That became my goal. I remember attending, college and signing into the dorms. And I remember the first month of college, it was this very like social atmosphere. It was very cool. You get to meet a lot of people. But again, the competitive mindset got into college. When I talked to other guys, it was all about a few things. Number one, are you in a fraternity? If you're not in a fraternity, you're a cuck. Number two, how much can you bench press? Number three, what's your body count? How many girls have you got into your bed? And number four, what are you majoring in? Are you majoring in something that's actually going to make you money after you get out of college? That was always what other guys around me were like talking about. It was just this constant comparison of those four things essentially. It is all ego, it's all competition. So I was like, oh God, here we go again. Another competition, you know? I pretty much engaged in the competition because I was like, this is just how it works. So what I started to do is I tried to change my external circumstances. I started going to the gym. I started lifting a bunch of weights. I was eating a lot of food, lifting weights. I was getting bigger, but it was at the expense of good health, honestly. I would eat like crap, I remember. It was really just bro science trying to get big. I chose a major that I was not passionate about. I chose to major in accounting. I didn't care about accounting. I had no passion for accounting, but I chose accounting because I knew that if I chose accounting, I would be guaranteed to get a job out of college. This would also give me the ability to earn over six figures if I had gotten my CPA license. So I was like, okay, now I checked that mark. Like I got a job I got a major that's gonna make me money. I'm getting bigger. I was so ashamed getting into college that I was a virgin. I remember being so ashamed about that. And I was so embarrassed. And again, I started to develop this thought process of like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I started really railing that home because of this. As a result, I started watching videos on YouTube from pickup artists. This was like the worst thing I could have done when it came to my relationship with women. Because these pickup artists on YouTube at the time, this was like circa like 2014. The pickup artists on YouTube at the time really treated relationships with women as like you're going to war against a woman, and what your main objective is to conquer them. That was the general vibe. So I'm watching these videos, I'm taking these videos in, I'm like trying to take them, like I'm trying to learn these things from these people who are, again, in this competitive mindset. They look at their relationships with women as it's a competition. You're trying to sort of manipulate and press certain buttons so that a girl gets into your bed. It's awful. Like when I think about it now, it's like, it's awful. It's horrible. So this was the general landscape of me in my first semester of college. Oh, and then the other thing was the fraternity thing. My mom would not allow me to join a fraternity because my mom's religious. She's a Muslim. She did not want me drinking. So that was just out of the question. She wasn't going to pay for fraternity dues. So that again made me feel bad about myself. I was like, I'm not in a fraternity. I'm a virgin. When I got into college, I was pretty skinny. So I started lifting weights and eating horrible foods just to get bigger. And then I'm watching this stupid ass pickup artist videos on YouTube, trying to go to war against women to conquer them, to get them into my bed. It's like, when I say it right now, it's so stupid. But that's where I was. That's the level of consciousness we're talking about here, 18-year-old Shahin. Now I'm trying to change all these things externally, change my life externally. And I'm doing this, I'm trying to win this competition. Why am I trying to win this competition? I'm trying to win this competition so that people love me. That's really what I wanted. That's all I wanted. If I were to go deeper and ask myself, why do I want people to love me? Really what it is I wanted to love myself. I just didn't know how to do it. So, anyway, Carrying on, this is like a couple months into my freshman year of college. I become so freaking depressed because I'm trying to change all these things externally, but the same voice in my head is just repeating the same mantra as in high school, which is, I'm not good enough. That's all I'm saying to myself in high school and in college, my first year of college. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I probably said that to myself millions of times in different ways, shapes, and forms. It is impossible to be happy. No matter what you do externally, it is impossible to be happy if you're just telling yourself, I'm not good enough. What happens again as a result of telling yourself, I'm not good enough, and being insecure about yourself and all that is, again, you take on a heavy energy, you run away from people. That's what I did. I ran away from everyone. When I couldn't even look people in the eyes when I was walking down the halls of my dormitory. I couldn't even look at people. I couldn't make eye contact. I didn't want people to expose me for being a virgin or not being in a frat or all my other insecurities. I just didn't want to be exposed. People would like literally invite me to go do things like come out to this like party or something. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I just completely cut myself off from people. And I always believed like I have to first take care of getting buff. I have to get building muscle, making a lot of money, getting the approval of the frat people. I need to take care of all these things before I can go out and have people like me. Completely stupid. And I was trying to do this all from the platform and the foundation of me telling myself I'm not good enough. It would have never worked. I became so depressed. I cut myself off from everybody. I think I only had like one friend, and he was just as depressed as me. We would stay in the dorms on the weekends. We'd get high, we'd smoke weed to sort of have some reprieve from all this suffering, all this negative self-talk. When you get high, you kind of your thoughts kind of change a little bit. You kind of relax a little bit. But we would just get high. We wouldn't go out. We would watch Breaking Bad or some stupid ass show in the dorm room and sort of just waste our youth away. I became hopeless at this point. I was like, this is it. Like this is going to be my life for the next 4 years. This is just high school all over again. And I kind of just accepted like life sucks. But then the YouTube algorithm saved me, as it always does in my times of despair. I got recommended an Eckhart Tolle video. I'll link that video in the description below. This video was the video that made me aware that I was repeating negative mantras to myself in my head, and I was completely unaware of it up to that point of watching that video. I had awakened to the fact that I was literally criticizing myself all the time, scolding myself all the time. I had finally become aware of it, and I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I was abusing myself like this. I can't believe I was scolding myself. And through watching that Eckhart Tolle video, I came to this realization that within me, in my essence, there's this beautiful, pure, innocent spirit that has been present there since I was a kid, like a baby, into being a kid. It's always been there underneath all of this negative self-talk. What I had been doing is scolding that beautiful, innocent part of my nature. Now, another way of saying this, another mental model, I had just discovered it after getting into Louise Hay's work on self-love. Louise Hay breaks it up like this. She says that within each and every one of us, there is an inner child, right? Think about when you were 5 years old. You were innocent. You were bright-eyed. You were curious. You wanted to play. You wanted to have fun. You didn't have any sort of concept of like, I'm broken or something's wrong with me. Like you didn't think like that. You just wanted to play, and you wanted to have fun, and you wanted to enjoy life. So Louise Hay says that all of us have an inner child within us. We have an inner child. When you're a child, it's up to the adults around you to make sure that you are safe. Your physical body is safe, right? That's really the role of an adult. You make sure, if you were to have a kid, you make sure that kid gets fed proper food, that kid is practicing good hygiene, brushing their teeth, showering, that kid's clothing has clothes on them, that kid is staying away from dangerous areas. That's really what the role of an adult is for a child. What happens, though, when we're growing up, is that some of the adults around us in our lives, they have trauma that they haven't dealt with. What they do as a result is that when you're sort of acting out of line, they may take their trauma out on you, the kid. They may scold you, they may criticize you. They pass it on to you, and that creates an emotional reaction within you. And you begin to adopt their criticism, their scolding, and nasty things that they say to you. What happens is that when you grow up, you become an adult yourself, physically capable of taking care of yourself, you continue to say what those adults would say to you when they scolded you. So you as an adult, the adult you starts to criticize and scold the inner child. You make a conscious decision, or I guess an unconscious decision when you become an adult of, I'm an adult now, I cannot have fun anymore. I have to leave the fun to the children. Everything takes on what I call this competitive mindset. That's the adult mind. When you take on the competitive mindset, you're always scolding yourself. You look around at other people and everybody else around you becomes a threat. They're competition. They're out there to get you. It's impossible to connect with other people when you're in the competitive mindset. Really, I think it is. To have true, meaningful connections with other people. Now, so I became aware of this after watching this Eckhart Tolle video. It's a powerful video. That video is really like my Bible. What like the Bible is to the Christians, like that Eckhart Tolle video is my Bible. Like when I'm lost, I just go back to that video because it breaks down this whole dynamic very well. So now I become aware that there's this inner child within me that I have been abusing, criticizing, just being incredibly nasty to for years and years and years. And actually right here I have this photo of myself, okay, when I was a kid. Look at me, little bright-eyed Shahin. I was like 8 years old there. But can you imagine this version of me standing right here in front of me? He just wants to play. He's innocent. And me just telling him, you're not good enough. You suck. The world hates you. Everybody hates you. And just, you're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. This is bad about you. That's bad about you. Imagine just having the 5-year-old version of yourself sitting in front of you right now, and you just completely annihilating them and criticizing them and telling them that they're not good enough. And imagine doing that for years upon years upon years. What do you think is going to happen to that inner child within you? That inner child is going to shut up, withdraw from the world, not speak, not say anything, not suggest anything, not play. That inner child's going to get into fetal position, quivering and crying every night. That's what we do to ourselves. It's awful. It's awful. We do this unconsciously to ourselves, to our inner child, abusing our inner child. So when I became aware of this, I began to nurture that inner child. I began to express love to that inner child. I began to express gratitude to that inner child. And again, like I said, I became very curious about that inner child. How does this inner child want to play, express itself? And I started allowing myself and the inner child within me to play and express itself and be spontaneous and to have fun. This led me to getting to the place where I could look myself in the mirror and I could say, I love you. Once I started to embody this energy of loving myself, of nurturing my inner child, of allowing my inner child to play, immediately I could sense other people becoming attracted to me, becoming attracted to something about my energy. I really believe that this process of loving your inner child, of praising your inner child, of expressing gratitude for your inner child and making that your mantra, making your new mantra, I am good enough, and saying that to yourself thousands upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. When you do that, you realize I really didn't care about anyone else's approval or validation. The only person's approval and validation that I care about is myself. That's all that I really wanted. I just wanted me to look in the mirror and say, I love you. It's one of the most powerful realizations that I've ever had in my life. Now, when you love yourself, when you nurture your inner child, when you have these positive thoughts of gratitude, when you allow your inner child to play and to express his or herself, like I said, you become attractive to other people as a byproduct. And that's really 80% of it. Now, the other 20% is, and this is what I found out after this sort of awakening when I was in college, is when I looked, since I became so curious about my inner child, when I came across other people, I became curious about their inner child. And when I'd speak to them, I would bypass the adult version of them, that kind of hard case physical shell, and I was speaking straight to the inner child. I was so curious about what makes this person's inner child come to life. That's what I wanted to know. How do they like to play? How do they like to express themselves? When you approach your relationships from this place of having curiosity about other people's inner child, wanting to bring it out, wanting to awaken it, having that deep, deep curiosity, you can sort of bypass all that competitive, adult, judging, ego, BS. You can go straight for the good stuff. I want to know, when I meet someone, I want to know what brings you to life. I want to know, how do you like to play? How do you like to have fun? I want to know that. That's all I care about. I want to know your inner child. That's who I want to have a relationship. I don't care about the adult you. As far as I'm concerned, the adult us, all that we're good for is taking care of our physical body. That's it. It's boring. Who cares about the adult version of us? I want to know everybody's inner child. When I started to approach my relationships in college from that foundation, from that frame, I could just sense people becoming alive and sparked in my presence. I could see it in their eyes when I'd become curious about their inner child. I could see them come to life. When you can spark the inner child in someone else, they will be so grateful for you because they have lost touch with their own inner child. And when you remind them of their inner child by simply you being curious, going deeper into them, above the surface level stuff. Have you listened to adult conversations? They're boring. How's work doing? Oh, the health benefits. They just changed the legislation last year. The economy's taking a rough turn. We're going into a recession. Oh, this war is horrible. Innocent people are dying. It's like, dude, that's not fun. It's not. But when you approach your relationships from, I want to collaborate with your inner child. I want to play with you, the inner child. Just like when you were a kid, when you were 5 years old on the playground. All you wanted to do is play with other kids. Because it was a lot funner to play with other kids than to just play by yourself. Nothing should change in your adult life when it comes to your relationships. My advice is, the real secret here is be curious about other people's inner child. Approach all your relationships from a place of collaboration rather than a place of competition. That's the secret. That is the secret. And what you find is you can transform all your relationships in your life when you approach them from this angle. You can do this with your parents. You can become curious about the inner child in your parents. What brings that inner child to life? How do they like to play? How do they like to express themselves? Maybe your parents have lost touch with their inner child. You can remind them of that inner child. This works with, as a man, this works with women. When I had this sort of awakening in college, I remember before having this awakening, when there was a beautiful girl that would come into my presence, I became so afraid of her because I was like, oh my gosh, this beautiful girl is going to see that I am not good enough. She's going to expose that, and I'm going to be embarrassed, and she's going to reject me. It's going to hurt. It was always seeking this sort of validation from the girl. But when you really love yourself, when you really nurture your inner child, and there's a beautiful girl there, it's like, oh my gosh, this girl's beautiful. I want to know about her inner child. I want to know how she likes to play. I want to know what's going on in her imagination and her fantasies and what, like, you want to go deeper. You want to know her heart. You want to know her spirit. When I started approaching my relationships like that, I remember beautiful. By the end of my freshman year, I was surrounded by these beautiful girls. I had girlfriends, beautiful girls around me, no matter how beautiful they were. I was no longer scared. It was like, I just want to explore your inner child. I want to explore your inner child. I just want to collaborate with all of you. By the end of that year, by the end of my freshman year, after doing this and practicing this for a couple months, I was like the guy in my dorm building, my dorm floor. Everybody loved me, man. Everybody loved me. I loved everyone. I always saying hi to everyone in the halls. People always invited me to go to a party or go out, or go watch a movie. Like, it was just always someone wanted to hang out with me. Someone wanted to, like, I was wanted. People wanted me around because I brought out their inner child. And that is so valuable in the world today, especially in the adult world, to have someone who can bring out your inner child and who can collaborate and play with your inner child and encourage you to play. That is so attractive. So, the key takeaways from this video. Number 1, you need to forgive yourself. Go to the mirror, look yourself in the eyes, and visualize that you're talking to the 5-year-old You, the child. Ask for forgiveness to that child for all the negative scolding, the criticism, for you being incredibly mean to that inner child. Look yourself in the eye, ask for forgiveness, and say, I'm sorry for being mean to you. I'm sorry for scolding you. I'm sorry for the self-criticism. And when you do this, you probably want to have some tissues right next to you, because this is a very emotional thing. When I did this, when I was 18 years old, I cried. Like the emotional outburst was off the charts. That's step number 1. Step number 2, after you forgive yourself, you ask for forgiveness from your inner child, and your inner child grants you forgiveness. Number 2, start nurturing your inner child. Start praising your inner child. Develop these thoughts, develop these conscious thoughts. Make the vow to yourself that you're never going to criticize yourself again. Other people can criticize me. I will never criticize my inner child again. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to serve my inner child. I'm here to keep this physical body safe, first and foremost. Secondarily, I'm here to make sure that my inner child thrives and has as much fun as possible in this life, and collaborates with other people, other inner childs. Number 3, approach all your relationships from bypassing the adult version of people, that adult shell of people. Go straight for their inner child. What brings them to life? Call them out to play. You can even visualize when you're talking to someone, if it's an adult. Visualize that person as a 5-year-old kid, calling them and asking them to come and play with you. What brings them to life? Approach your relationships from those places. It could be any relationship. Like I said, with your parents, with your siblings, even if you're older now, with your friends, with your coworkers, with your colleagues, even with your boss. It works with anybody. Do this. You'll see magical transformations happen. Do this again and again and again. Just keep this in a cycle, going and going. Praise your inner child. Allow yourself to play. Give yourself permission. Then go out into the world, and when you're dealing with other people, call forth their inner child. Visualize them as little kids. Doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter if it's the most beautiful girl in the room. You can go call forth their inner child. See what happens. And this is really, from my personal direct experience, this is how you bypass that competitive adult mind, the ego. You go straight for that innocent, beautiful child within. And that's who you're relating to, and that's who you're relating to, and that's who you're addressing. And you have to understand that not every person in life is going to, everyone's in a different place consciously, on a level of consciousness. You're going to come across some people who, no matter how much empathy you approach them with, they're going to be bitter to you. They're going to be mean. You have to understand, if someone is being bitter and mean to you, imagine what they are doing to their inner child within them. So instead of, if someone's mean to you or whatever, instead of being, lashing back out at them and getting revenge on them, instead, understand that that's the level of consciousness of that. That's where they are. And still, in your mind's eye, mentally, address their inner child and say, I see you. And I love you. And I know you're beautiful. And I know you're innocent. And I know the adult you has been mean to you. But I see you. And that's it. Let those people go. They have their deeper work to do. And that's that. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this video. Sign up for the community through the membership form below in the description. where we talk about these things in deeper detail. We can have conversations with one another about these things. We can really go deeper on these things in a community format. I'm really looking forward to starting that community. So go in the description, fill that form out below. I'll see you guys in the next video.